Okay, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to put on a pl259 plug. Now this is the RAM type plug. I believe it to be a very good plug. Some people like to use crimp plugs, but these are a really nice plug. They're very strong, very heavy duty metal, silver coated brass, I believe it is, and they create a really good connection with your braiding, which is the thing that I like the most. Not only that, when they're on, they don't rotate or spin, and if you put some heat shrink over it, you can pretty much consider it to be a really good, permanent, and mostly watertight plug. So they're really good like that. The parts inside, so basically you've got the main capsule, which looks like that, the end cap, or the screw-in bit that clamps it up, and then you've got this well, what do you call it? It's basically part of the RAM system. There's a rubber grommet that goes inside, and there's a washer, which you'll see how that works in a minute when I put it together. So we'll go through it all step by step. It's very simple, and if you do it this way, this is the way I've found to be the best. It was shown to me by somebody very in the know, and so that's how we're going to do it. Now I do have a dodgy knife here, and it's going to give me grief for the first time. Oh, there it goes. All right, so the first thing we want to do is measure 30 mil, and and then basically take the jacket of the coax back. Now the best way to do this is to use a very thin but very sharp knife, and very gently rotate it around until you feel the knife just grab a hold of the braid. You'll feel the friction. And then once you feel that, obviously don't put any more pressure, otherwise you'll cut the braid. We don't want to cut the braid at all. We don't want to lose any of it at all. We want to get the whole lot. There we go. I can feel the braid now. So I'm just gently dragging around. I can still feel the braid, and there we go. That's gone all the way around. And then we'll slice this way, doing the same thing, paying attention to feel for the braid. There it is. And once you get a little nick, usually it's enough, and you'll be able to peel that off, and you can see there's no bits of braid falling down, so we haven't cut it, which is exactly what we want. So you can discard that bit. Okay, first things first, if you're going to use heat shrink, and I do recommend it, you should put that on first. I won't for this case because I've still got the open end which I can use, and this is just for the video. I'm not actually going to use this plug. So first thing that goes on is your heat shrink, followed by your screw grommet, which is the bit that rams it together. After that goes the washer. All right, so feed the washer over. Whenever you're putting part of the plug over, try not to touch the end. Try not to touch the end, because when you do, if it flays out, it'll make it difficult to put some of the parts on. So that can go right over the coax part, over the black bit. After that goes the grommet. All right, the rubber compression grommet. Again, being careful of the end here, and again you can put that over the top of the coax. And now it's time to take the hat piece, which has got a beveled edge on it, and the beveled edge goes to the outside. All right, it goes towards the front. Now that'll only go down as far as the coax, the coax jacket, which is exactly what we want. All right, it stops there, and basically when it's together, this is how it operates. So when you tighten the screw, it compresses. Sorry, I'll hold that in a better spot. It compresses the orange, which obviously spreads out and pushes against the inside of the case. And it also pushes, you'll see in a minute, it also pushes the braid hard up against the inside of the shell. All right, so it pushes it hard up against the inside of the shell and gives you a really good connection. Okay, so once you've got that, the next thing you want to do, I'll just hold this over here in a good spot. The next thing you want to do is to pull back your braid. All right, so pull back your braid like that, very carefully. Don't make a mess of it. Keep it all in one nice neat pile, especially towards the bottom. A lot of this we're going to cut off. All right, and bring that down and pull it back over the top. So fold it back over the top. Watch the end bits, they're a bit sharp and they do have a tendency to jab into your finger. All right, and then work that down so you've got a nice, can you see that? Hopefully you can see that quite well. All right, you've got a nice folded part over the top of that metal shell, or the metal bullet I should say, the end cap. Now what we want to do now is we want to cut that off about in line where the flat part. So if you have a look at the metal, there's a bit of a flat part there. So you want to cut it off about there, leaving all of that top section. All right, so I'm just going to quickly do that into a bin with a pair of scissors. Very simple. Just use the outside of the cap as the guide and just work your way around. All right, I'll just do that and I'll be back. All right, there we go. So as you can see now, we've got the braid just folded over the top there, and we've just clipped it off. All right, so we've got plenty of braid. Now the reason why I like these plugs is for that exact reason, is because there is so much contact of the braid with the inner part, which will actually ram it up against the shell. So you can rest assured that any common mode noise or interference or anything like that is not going to penetrate, because it's well shielded. Well, it's shielded to the best of its capacity anyway, and that's very important. Okay, the next thing we need to do now is we need to remove the dielectric or part of it. And if you have a look inside the plug, I'm not sure if you can see that very well, you'll see that there is quite a deep hole at the top, not into here, but at the top. Now the dielectric will actually pass through that a small way, and then of course the center conductor will come out through the rest and stick out the top. So I aim for basically having about 4 millimeters left. All right, just 4 millimeters. So very carefully cut that, and when you do this, try to cut it straight. It will aid in making sure that the dielectric passes through correctly, and nothing touches. And then what you'll need to do then, I like to slice through it because it weakens it. Now the dielectric in this is like a nylon, and it's very strong. So be very careful cutting it. But if you put a long groove through it like that, it will basically break the tension with the copper core, which is actually multi-strand. But it'll break the common bond with it, and it'll make it a bit easier for you to get off. Now be very careful when you do this. Now I sort of have a little golden rule, and I do suggest people follow it, and that is, if you break one of the center core strands, start again. Start from scratch. We want them all. Okay, so I grab it and I twist with it, which for me is clockwise. So going clockwise, and I'm actually, you can't see it, but I'm actually pulling outwards very hard whilst I'm doing this, because I want to break that bond, and I want to get it off before I twist it too many times, because if you don't, you'll probably snap the core. All right, there we go. So now we've got our threaded screw. Sorry, I've got to remember to hold this the right way. Our screw thread, our washer, the rubber grommet, the top cap, the braid folded back over the top cap, and about 4 millimeters of dielectric sticking through. See if we can get that a bit closer. I don't have autofocus on the camera because it gets annoying and it starts focusing on my shirt and all sorts of other things. So I'm sure you can see that that's how it is. All right, and then all it is then is a simple matter of making absolutely certain that none of the braiding is ever going to accidentally get up there where the core is, where the core is. And basically we put our plug on and we push down and we screw at the same time, and you'll find it will grab very nicely. All right, so there we are, we've got it in. And now what you want to do now is you want to get a really good hold of the shell. Now I'm doing this with a pair of vice grips, but really should have 2 shifters, but I don't have 2 the same size, so I just use this. It works quite well. And then grab a shifter and tighten it up. Now when I say tighten it up, go all the way as far as it'll go, and then a bit more. All the way as far as it will go, and a bit more. we want absolutely maximum contact of that braid with the shell. Now, the thing I love about these plugs, like I said earlier, is once you've got them together, they will not rotate. Yeah, a lot of plugs, cheaper plugs, the tinny kind of ones, I won't say the names of where anything comes from, that's not right, but a lot of the cheaper, thinner ones, when you've put them on, the only thing that's really holding it is the solder, because this has a screw thread in it, and basically moving in the wind or the breeze, or if anything pulls against it, it starts to undo, and it loosens it off, and of course you lose your braid connection, and your SWR falls to bits. Okay. And of course you'll get noise and all sorts of other things as well, because you don't have that braid connectivity to carry the noise to earth. So then of course we just chop the tip off and discard that, and with a very good soldering iron and plenty of solder, don't be afraid to really get some on there. Solder your core to the tip. Now what I do is I hold it in a vise. I've got a desk vise when I solder, and because it's a multi-core braided because it's a multi-core core, there we go, that's a good one for you, tongue twister, you'll find that there's plenty of space there to get the solder to actually run down. So as you heat it up and pour solder in there, start pushing it in, the solder will actually run down and make a really, really good contact. Don't go too far. The last thing you want is for the solder to go all the way through, start leaking out the bottom and touch the braid, and that'll be the end of your plug. So enough to get it on there. You know, be generous, but don't go overboard. Most people in this hobby are pretty sort of conversant with how to solder things properly. So that's pretty much it. And then you would put your heat shrink on this side. I use different coloured heat shrinks for different bands. You know, so for HF I use yellow, for VHF I use green. It doesn't make any difference. It's just so that when I look at it, I know which cable goes to what antenna outside. Very, very simple. My dipole is like a orangey red colour. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much it. I hope that was of some help. So RAM type pl259 plugs, brass, silver plated, very, very good quality. They're about $12 each. They're not cheap, but they're very, very good quality, and that's what we want in our hobby. All right, this is VK2MIX. Thanks very much for watching.